He promised to die with Jesus. He swore he'd never abandon him. And then he denied even knowing him. 3 times. Not because he was a coward, but because of something far more powerful than fear, something that lives inside all of us right now. Hey, welcome back. Today, we're talking about one of the most human moments in the Bible, Peter's denial of Jesus. And I'm not here to judge Peter or call him a failure. Instead, I want to show you something that most people miss, the psychology behind why he did it. Because understanding Peter's shame isn't just about ancient history. It's about understanding ourselves, about the moments when we've denied who we really are, what we really believe, or who we really love just to fit in or avoid pain. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to see yourself in Peter's story, and you're going to understand why shame might be the most destructive emotion we experience. Let's start here. Peter wasn't just another disciple. He was the rock. Jesus literally renamed him, gave him a new identity based on his strength and faith. Peter was bold. He walked on water. He rebuked Jesus when he thought Jesus was wrong. He said, "Lord, I'm ready to go to prison with you. I'm ready to die with you." He meant it. He genuinely believed it. But then came the arrest. Jesus was taken. And Peter followed not as a disciple anymore, but as a fugitive hiding in the shadows. The first denial happened by a charcoal fire. A servant girl asked, "Weren't you with Jesus?" And Peter said, "I don't know what you're talking about." Just a simple denial. But then it escalated. A second person asked, and Peter denied it again. And a third time, someone else pressed him. And Peter didn't just deny it, he cursed. He swore oaths. He called down curses on himself if he was lying. Here's what's crucial. Peter wasn't being slowly convinced that he didn't know Jesus. He wasn't gradually forgetting who Jesus was or what Jesus meant to him. Instead, each denial created more shame, and the more shame he felt, the more intensely he had to deny it. He was doubling down, compounding the shame with bigger and bigger lies. This is the psychology of shame. Shame isn't just regret. Shame is about your identity. It's a feeling that says, "I am bad." And when you feel like you are bad, you'll do almost anything to escape that feeling, including making it worse. Psychologists have studied this for decades. Shame has a unique power. It makes us want to hide, to disappear, to become invisible. But here's the problem: when you can't disappear, shame flips. It becomes aggression. It becomes denial. It becomes doubling down. Think about the actual situation Peter was in. He's in a courtyard surrounded by strangers. He's just watched his best friend and spiritual leader get arrested. His entire world is crashing down. And then a servant girl, someone beneath him socially, is asking if he knows Jesus. In that moment, Peter had 2 competing fears. The fear of being identified with Jesus and facing arrest, torture, or death, and the fear of admitting the truth and feeling the shame of having abandoned his best friend. Shame won. And not because Peter was a coward in the traditional sense, but because shame is more powerful than logic. It's more powerful than conviction. It hijacks our brains and forces us into fight or flight mode. The shame of being identified with a failed, arrested Messiah was unbearable. So Peter chose the shame of denial instead, thinking that if he could just disappear into the crowd, the first shame would go away. It didn't. And that's why, when the rooster crowed and Jesus turned to look at him, Peter's entire world shattered. Because now he had to face both shames at once: the shame of abandonment and the shame of denial. Here's what I want you to understand. Shame thrives in secrecy. Shame grows in isolation. The moment Peter denied Jesus, he locked himself in a prison of his own making. He was physically free, but spiritually and emotionally, he was trapped. And the reason shame is so powerful is because it touches something deeper than fear. It touches your sense of self. It says, you don't belong here. You don't belong with them. You're not worthy of love. You're not worthy of being known. This is why shame is the reason people stay in unhealthy relationships, why they hide their struggles, why they perform and pretend instead of being authentic. Because the alternative, being seen and judged, feels worse than the isolation. But here's the redemptive part of Peter's story. After Peter denied Jesus 3 times, he left that courtyard. And Matthew tells us that he wept bitterly. That phrase, wept bitterly, it's not just tears. It's the sound of someone whose identity has been shattered. But it didn't end there. Jesus rose from the dead. And one of the first things Jesus did was seek out Peter, not to shame him, not to remind him of his failure, but to restore him. Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" mirroring the 3 denials. And each time Peter said yes, Jesus said, "Feed my sheep, take care of my people." Jesus was saying, your shame doesn't define you, your failure doesn't disqualify you. I choose you anyway. And here's what happened next. Peter became fearless. The same man who denied Jesus became the man who stood up in front of the very people who tried Jesus and said, "We cannot stop speaking about what we have seen and heard." He was arrested, he was beaten, and he rejoiced that he was counted worthy to suffer for Jesus' name. The difference? Peter understood grace. He understood that he was loved not because of his strength or his performance, but in spite of his weakness. And that's what transformed him from a man paralyzed by shame to a man who could face anything. So here's my question for you. What shame are you hiding right now? What part of yourself are you denying because you're afraid of judgment? Because the Peter in this story shows us that shame grows in darkness, but it dies in the light of being known and loved anyway. I want you to do something this week. Tell someone the truth. Not something huge necessarily, but something you've been hiding, something you're ashamed of. Tell a trusted friend, a mentor, a therapist, or a spiritual leader. Because shame loses its power the moment it's spoken out loud to someone who responds with love instead of judgment. And if you don't have someone like that in your life right now, I want you to know that this community is here. The comment section below is full of people who get it. People who felt shame, people who understand what it's like to be Peter in that courtyard. So share your story, not all of it if you're not ready, but enough to break the silence, because you're not alone in this, and you're not too far gone for grace. If this video resonated with you, please like it, subscribe so you don't miss more videos exploring the psychology of faith and redemption, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Because shame thrives when we think we're the only ones struggling, but when we're brave enough to be known, everything changes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.